The last time you talked to a Muslim, were you concerned they might be lying to you? We're going to talk today about why that is actually a possibility. It's the Islamic doctrine of Taqiyya, and it literally means they can lie in order to advance their faith. David, tell us a little bit more about this, man.
Yeah, of course. The doctrine of Taqiyya does make it really difficult to talk with Muslims about their faith, especially scholars, imams, Muslim philosophers, Muslim politicians, and we know that's very relevant today. And that's because according to Muhammad, according to Allah, and according to Islamic history, it is totally acceptable, according to Allah, to lie and deceive people in a lot of different cases. Like a lot. Taqiyya literally means, I got the definition here, in Islamic theology it refers to concealing one's faith or true beliefs to protect oneself from perceived persecution or harm.
That's incredible, man. I mean, taking a step back, I think about the first time that I tried to share my faith with a Muslim. I've heard this line over and over and over again. We love Jesus too, and so I've come to see that they mean something entirely different when, in regard to Jesus. I wouldn't say, at the risk of sounding offensive to someone, to a Muslim, I would say from a Christian perspective, you don't love Jesus. We don't believe that you love Jesus. I don't believe that you love Jesus. I think that for a variety of reasons, I don't think Muslims should say that. They don't. Yeah. They should not say, "I love Jesus too."
Of course.
But I've come to find out since then about this idea that this idea of Taqiyya. I mean, basically that a Muslim can actually just say anything. I mean, literally anything. I mean, what is this sort of like a deceptive thing? Is this like an act of war? I mean, is it
actually can be used in a lot of different cases? The number of cases you can use this in, and it actually is. So historically, it's rooted in Quran 16:106. So that's whoever disbelieves in Allah after their belief, except one who is forced while his heart is secure in faith. But those who open their breast to disbelief, upon them is the wrath from Allah. So according to what this means is that if you are just lying for no reason, then the wrath of Allah is upon you. But if you're lying because you fear persecution or harm or judgment or something that might impede the Islamic growth, the Islamic religion, if you're lying for the purpose of those, it's okay. And we actually see this because according to Tafsir al-Tabari and Ibn Kathir, so Tafsir, remember, that's like the Islamic commentaries.
Okay.
The historic Islamic commentaries, right? So this is what their teachers say. This verse was revealed about Ammar ibn Yasir, who pretended to renounce Islam under torture. From this, the principle of Taqiyya was derived, that a Muslim may verbally conceal their faith to avoid suffering or death of any kind. Which is interesting. How does that compare to the Christian view about us renouncing Jesus?
Yeah, that's. It's just dramatically different. But can you give us an example? Like the one that I just used, I'm not sure that even per se fits into Taqiyya necessarily. But the idea of somebody saying, we love Jesus too. I mean, that might be presenting, Islam in the best possible light in order to win a convert. Kind of a thing, which I guess maybe that's sort of like a white lie, sort of but what's an example of this? Like, how might somebody, a Muslim evangelist, because I'm sure you've come across some of this as a Christian apologist and expert.
Sure.
What's an example of this?
Well, it's actually funny. Historically, in the last 20 years, there was this whole lie going around in college campuses where Muslim sheikhs, imams, and other individuals would go around telling young ladies that Muhammad was actually the first feminist. I know.
Oh, wow.
Legit. No, that actually is the real thing. They were going around, they were telling young ladies Muhammad was the first feminist. He fought for equality of inheritance laws for young ladies. Yeah. He fought for their protection.
Wearing the burqas? I mean,
apparently that was like some sort of freedom of expression, right?
Something.
As a matter of fact, that actually...
It was taken away from them.
Did you know that technically is also like the modern understandings of the burqa would be Taqiyya too? A lot of times they'll tell young ladies who are raised Muslima or who become Muslim, well, this is really, you got to tell people this is your choice, this is your identity. So that's why you choose to cover up like this, because it's part of your identity. And then you ask them, well, what would happen if you took all of that off and wore normal clothes? And they said, well, I'd get beat.
Wow.
So it's like, wait a second.
That is wild.
I thought it was part of your identity, but the reality is that's Taqiyya too, right?
Yeah,
that's
I can see that one clearly. Do you have another example of something like that?
Yes. Oh my goodness. This actually happens all the time in prisons. This is so bad.
I'm only saying that because, we accused just now an entire segment of the population of being liars.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course. Or at least permitted to lie. At least
permitted to lie.
Permitted to lie.
In all seriousness, like, we're not trying to put anyone down, like, who is a Muslim, because the truth of the matter is, I've said this many, many times, this isn't an attack on individual Muslims. That's not what this is. This is trying to show people the truth about the faith that you practice. And for Christians, it's to try to show you the truth about this faith that you might have to kind of give an apologetic for.
Yeah, and that's the really important part, right? Because some Muslims, when I just explain historic Muslim doctrine to them and like dogma to them, they get offended. Not because of how messed up the doctrine is, but because I'm mentioning it. Muslims, I'm not saying that every single Muslim I've ever met is a liar. What I'm saying is that it's really difficult to have conversations with Muslims because you might have been lied to as well by an imam, because they're allowed to lie to those who are the faithful, right? So even your imam could have lied to you, your scholars could have lied to your imams who lied to you, even the philosophers, right? Like, for instance, let me just explain how this is so deeply rooted in Quranic and Islamic history. So under compulsion or danger, right? Let not believers take disbelievers as allies rather than believers, unless you guard yourselves against them, taking precaution. Now, here's what the tafsirs like Ibn Kathir, they explain what that verse means. They interpret taking precaution as permission to conceal loyalty or belief in perceived hostile environments. So if you perceive that people are against your Islamic religion in any way, then you are permitted to lie, because that would be considered a hostile environment. In warfare, this it's crazy, right? Hadith is Sahih al-Bukhari, in the book of jihad part of it. The Prophet said, war is deceit. So this hadith allows misleading an enemy through tactics or false appearances during war.
I thought they were a religion of peace. I thought everything was peace. Weren't they hippies? Like
yeah. There's like some 1960s, 1970s, sexual revolution. Hippies.
That does sound like Islam to me.
Yeah. Right. Well,
they were the first feminists.
Well, I forgot. The religion
Muhammad
of
was
peace
a feminist.
thing.
Yeah.
I totally forgot. That's a good thing you said that. The religion of peace thing actually is part of Taqiyya. Like throughout Islamic history, the notion of Islam being a religion of peace.
George W. Bush bought it, man.
Well, not just him.
He propagated it.
Yeah, of course. No, I mean, Obama did. See, like a lot of other people did. It's horrible.
Well, Obama's Muslim, though.
Yeah, that's true. Hussein. Yeah. It's horrible because if you're going through and you're looking at Islamic history, it's very obvious that Islam is a war-based, expansionistic, colonial religion, right?
Yeah,
it's a political religion.
Yeah.
And this
Muhammad
is very
was
clear.
A pedophile
warlord.
Yeah,
he's a pedophilic warlord. And that's not offensive because it's just accurate to the data, right? But if you actually look, the notion of Islam, I've even heard Muslims, I think 10 years ago, when I was at college, I heard Muslims tell me Islam means peace.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Islam means peace, right? Islam is a religion of peace.
Yeah.
It literally means peace. And then I was like, oh, really? Right? So I look it up to see, and instead what I found on Google is Islam means submission.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's what I was always taught, and when I started studying it.
Do you know how offended I got? They lied to me.
That's what, and that's what I'm trying to get at is like, so basically what we're establishing here is that this whole idea of Taqiyya, like this is a thing. This is a real, actual thing.
Yeah.
And even in my sparse interactions with people of the Islamic faith, like I feel like I have encountered this because everything is painted in a positive light. Everything is, we did this, we created it, you would almost get the impression that they created Western culture.
Yeah.
And
actually they've said that before.
Right. Yeah. And so I was just talking to somebody through Instagram the other day, and it was a friend from high school, and she saw some of these videos that we were making. She apparently became a Muslim. I mean, who knew, and apparently somewhere along the line became a Muslim. I could see from some of her, Instagram pictures and stuff like that. She traveled over to Petra, over there in Jordan. And so the things that she was saying, though, were, and I don't know if this would fit into the category of Taqiyya, but clearly she was like buying the spin that is put on history from Muslims. I mean, basically saying things like, if Islam was, ruled the world, if Muslims ruled the world, I really believe there would be, like peace and prosperity.
Holy moly, what?
Yeah, and I'm like thinking to myself, and so that she said every war that Muhammad did, was always, and I think it was 80 wars that he battles or wars.
Yeah, he was in quite a few battles.
Quite a few. I heard the number 80 because I put that in my Sunday post this past week, so it has to be true, David.
Yeah, exactly right. There's no other way. Yeah.
So that's a lot. 80 like skirmishes, however you want to call it. I mean, the guy clearly was not a man of peace. But she made the statement that every one of them were defensive wars.
Okay, come on. When he goes into a town and cut off people's hands and put a brand,
rapes people
and put a brand on a man's chest to kill him, to figure out where he hid the money,
forcibly,
and then takes
converted
the
Christians, right?
And then takes the man's wife after branding her husband and torturing him to death to figure out where they hid the money, and then taking that man's wife and saying, "You want to be my wife? I'm going to take you as one of my wives," and then giving the war booty of women and sex slaves. How is that defensive?
Exactly.
How is that defensive?
It's just, and honestly, it's so ridiculous. I honestly feel like you have to think that like we are totally stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, that the people, if you're a part of the, the Dawa gang, like, I mean, you have to think we're totally stupid. The people that you're talking to are totally stupid.
Yeah. You know what's the sad thing though? In a certain sense, their assumption's often right. Think about it like this, right?
In terms of the people that
the Dawa guys.
You mean?
No, the Dawa guys.
Oh, okay.
No, the Dawa guys are kind of like...
Well, they're lying. They're liars.
Evidentially, they're kind of correct in the sense that they're correct to assume that a lot of people are dumb. You want to know why? Because people fall for it.
Yeah.
People fell for it.
It really is amazing. I couldn't believe the things. Yeah. I mean, my response when I was getting this litany of things was like, because I hadn't talked to this person literally since high school. Yeah. I said, she said, I don't want to argue. I don't want to argue either. I said, you're definitely looking at those things in the best possible light.
Yeah.
It's
just a lie.
And I think it's like these things have to be exposed for lies. Yes. These are lies.
Of course,
this is not true, and it is honestly. If you come at people, a Christian, if you're a Muslim, and you come at people saying, "We love Jesus too," no, you don't. Yeah. You are lying.
Yeah,
you don't. Jesus was raised from he was crucified for our sins in fulfillment of Old Testament prophecy.
Yes.
He was raised to life.
That's right. And
y'all, like you're doing over in Nigeria right now, are persecuting Jesus followers, which means by definition, you don't love Jesus too.
Exactly right. Exactly right. That's obviously true. And yet Muslims are allowed to in their religion, right? And I'm going to explain the theological reason really soon, but one more example that's really important, just so you understand why you're going to experience this so often. Here's an example. In certain diplomatic or strategic contexts, or diplomatic contexts where there's a way for you to seem peaceful, to seem more inviting, just like what you were just talking about. When Muhammad negotiated the treaty of Hudaybiyah, he agreed to terms that appeared unfavorable to Muslims on the outset, to other people, but secretly knew it was a strategic delay. Critics see this as a form of taqiyya and diplomacy, appearing weak but planning advantage. Right?
I mean, so this is kind of like, this is peaceful. We call this being a snake.
Of course.
Don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't this being like the serpent in the garden?
Yeah, because what's happening is
a piece of slime.
They're using what's not known by others outside of the faith, and they're using that to draw them in. Because now you might be thinking, okay, why on earth would Allah and Muhammad allow for or command deception as a permissible way to get their religion to grow? Because here's what I would say, right? To all the Muslims out there, and some of you might be experiencing the effects of taqiyya. You believe all of this stuff, but you've never researched it yourself. So you kind of just believe a bunch of lies that you've been given through taqiyya by an imam, by a dawah guy, by some sort of scholar. And so you just believe stuff. You didn't really do any deep research on it. You just looked at all of the sources they cited, which were all Islamic scholars that they were citing themselves. And you're like, oh, a source page and citations, that means it's true, which is not how things work. But in either case, you probably were deceived into accepting these Taqiyya lies as if they're facts. And so then you spread the Taqiyya and you spread the lies around as well. Think of it in this way instead. If your religion primarily spreads through birth rates and deception, your religion is not one worth having. Again, to say it more clearly, if your religion spreads primarily through birth rates, actually historically, birth rates, conquest, violent conquest, and deception, it's not a religion worth having. Christianity was able to take over the Roman Empire.
And the Muslims still haven't.
Yeah,
no
which
offense.
is true. Yeah, it's true historically. Yeah, no matter what they say about prophecies, they never did. They never did.
We took it over in like 300 years
without
you know?
raising a single
It's
sword.
been like 1,700 years, and y'all still haven't taken it over.
Yeah, wild. Yeah, they got to work on that. I mean, they shouldn't. But
Yeah, it took you like 1,000 years just to get Constantinople.
yeah,
you know?
and even then, that's just because Christians decided to be way too nice. But again, like I just think about that all the time. I think, wow, Christianity spread predominantly through, especially in its early setup, right? In its earliest form, it spread through peaceful means.
Yeah.
Under persecution, under violent persecution, it's
right.
right.
Yeah.
And so if you look at that, and
It's
then you look at
two totally
completely
different
Yes.
paradigms. Like,
Oh, yeah.
completely different. Like the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church versus like war, conquest, pillage.
yes.
Kill or be killed. I mean,
Exactly.
it's literally two totally different paradigms.
And this is why it's really important. So then, the whole point of this video is what do we do with the doctrine of Taqiyya, right? What do we do with the facts? And I can give you guys so many different historical
I think that's a good
examples.
point. Yeah, kind of like how do we deal with this? Because like I know I've dealt with this. I mean, it is so frustrating. Like when you're talking to a Muslim, it can be, not all of them, but it can be, especially if it's somebody who was raised a Muslim, if they're just spitting out this propaganda, like it can be so frustrating.
Of
Like how do
course.
you combat this?
Yeah,
What do you do?
even when it's at the political level, because like even in the case of the Fatimids, the Abbasids, and the Ottomans, leaders and scholars sometimes hid allegiances or beliefs just for survival of their religion, so they could infiltrate established governments and stuff like that. So just think about this: if when you're talking to a Muslim, they describe a doctrine or belief that they have to you, just don't accept it automatically. Do legitimate research. Do historical research, look at what the Quran actually says, look at what the tafsirs say, look at what Islamic history reveals about that topic. I don't know why, and I was talking to my students about this today too. I was going through a list of common claims made against the New Testament, and I was like, all right, what would you guys say to claim number one? And they gave a response, and claim number two, when I got to claim number two, it's like, the Bible's been corrupted and changed and all that. My students were thinking like, how do we respond to this? And then one student, after like a whole minute of silence, one student raised his hands and said, prove it. And I was like, there you go.
Yeah, and
You
honestly,
can't just,
I think don't be afraid to say that to a Muslim. I mean,
Yes.
like that sounds kind of interesting. That's different than everything I've ever heard. And I mean, like honestly, if somebody tries to throw the Islam as a religion of peace, you use your eyes.
Yes, please.
Just ask questions. Be good. Like
Go to
why is it that-
jihadwatch.org.
Yeah, why is it that all we have
Like,
seen in the
come
news?
on.
Why did y'all slam planes into our buildings 25 years ago?
Why have
Like,
70,000 Nigerian Christians been killed in the last like 20 years?
I mean, so just that's a great, just sort of like basic observational question about like, my religion's a religion of peace. Oh yeah.
Like just test that. And again, for all of you Christians who are dealing with that, I know this is horrible to say, but again, even with a lot of my students, they have to be reminded they can't just trust people at their word.
Yeah.
And that doesn't just go for Muslims, by the way. That goes for a lot of atheists they speak to as well. You can't just trust people at their word. By the way, it might not even be them lying. It might be them propagating a lie that they just chose
That they
to
heard
accept,
in
right?
the mosque.
Yeah,
right.
a lot of Muslims just, again, Islam is a religion of recitation.
Right.
We know this from the beginning. Muhammad said when the demon attacked him in the cave, it said, read, read, read. And Muhammad said, I can't read. So the angel instead
I'm
says,
sorry, that was
recite.
such a demon possession.
Of course, he literally thought
that
so.
was not. I'm sorry, y'all Muslims, if you're listening. That was the dude was possessed by a demon.
Muhammad himself admitted that when he left.
Yeah,
it was the only time I agree with Muhammad on something just about. But if you look at it, the beginning of Islam began with a demon in a cave telling Muhammad to read, and he couldn't. So instead, it told him to recite. And from then on, all of Islam is just reciting things heard.
Yeah.
There's no critical thinking. You just recite what's told to you. And what happens when you have a religion that is begun with the idea of empty, blank, vain repetitions and recitations? You just hear something and echo it back. In the mosque, a Muslim is just going to be taught, don't understand the Quran, don't do Quran studies with your highlight and writing in the Quran. Of course, you're not allowed to write in the Quran or highlight like us Christians do with the Bible, but all this stuff. You do all this, and then you come to learn, eventually, that you only learn about the truth or the true meaning of your Quran from Christians.
Yeah.
Because you're only ever told to recite. Just recite the lies. Ali Dawah, one of the number one most popular Muslim apologist in the world by subscriber count, he was brought into Islam because of the scientific miracles, which was a set of lies about the Quran being scientifically advanced and accurate. So about 2 or 3 years ago, he admitted the scientific miracles argument has been debunked. He admitted
say that the sun sets like in a puddle of mud,
in a muddy pool. That's exactly right. Yeah, which is obviously very scientific.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah, probably not. As far as I can tell, it prostrates each night before Allah. Is what it says at the end.
You're a high school teacher. You tell me, is that true?
Yeah. I mean, they also, according to Islam, there's a lot of other stuff.
See, you could have debunked that one yourself. I know it.
Yeah, easily.
I know it. Anybody out there could have debunked that one.
Yeah, but that's the thing, and that's perhaps the easiest way to make this succinct. If you have a religion that just tells you to recite, there's no critical thinking. And in that case, your average Muslim is not going to have thought critically about the doctrines they're taught, about the arguments against Christianity that they're given, the lies they're fed about the Bible, about Christ, about Christian history. They're not going to think deeply about it because their whole religion is predicated upon the idea of recitation. If you just, every time you go to mosque, the only thing you do the whole time is recite, then when you leave the mosque, what's the only thing you're going to be able to know how to do? Recite. Not to think critically, just recite. That's why you have to study the sources. I know I brought this up before. When I wrote What Should a Muslim Believe, it's because of Taqiyya.
Yeah.
I wrote this because of
Interesting.
Taqiyya.
Yes.
I wrote this, it says, a practical handbook on Islamic beliefs from the Quran, Hadith, and history. Not from your imam, not from the random TikTok influencer sheikh that you're following. From the Quran, from the Hadith, from the tafsir, and Islamic history.
Well, this is one of the things I think they'll often do is they'll start talking about the hadiths, and they'll say, if you bring up something Muslim that Muhammad did in a hadith, like the Aisha, she was 6 years old when they married, 53. And then and she was 9 when they consummated the marriage. Yeah. They'll say, we don't know. Is this a credible hadith?
It's literally Sahih.
It's literally, yes. Yeah,
it's as Sahih as it can get. It's Sahih al-Bukhari.
So this is part of what we deal with when we will actually, as Christians, we're trained to understand logic. We're trained to defend our faith. Always give, like Peter said, always give it. Yep, be ready to give a reason for the hope that you have. So we're always sort of, and that's what you are, David, is an apologist.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean you go around apologizing.
Not a chance.
It means that you're explaining. You're ready to give an explanation for the Christian faith, and you're trained to do that, and that's what you do.
Yeah.
When we engage a Muslim, I'm just speaking from my experience, and had these frustrations with these things.
Yes.
Again, wrapping it up, we're not saying every single Muslim is a liar. I'm not even saying most of y'all are intentionally lying. Yeah. Maybe it's something you're just repeating what you heard from an imam. But when you go down this road and you say, well, some of these hadiths aren't credible, but it was actually your most credible hadith. Like this goes into the realm of like intellectual dishonesty. Mm-hmm. And you may not realize that this is what you're doing, but it really is. And it is actually a form of lying.
Yes.
You're not being intellectually honest, engaging logic with your brain and connecting it to what does it really mean to be a Muslim? Who was the person of Muhammad? And, that's what we're trying to share with you today, that yes, there are different layers, but Taqiyya is a thing. It is. David, you just explained it to us. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's something that we have to deal with
every day,
unfortunately, as Christians.
Yes,
and
just about every day in my case.
Be the iron. Right?
Yes.
You got to be the iron. That's a good segue into David's his ministry. Be the iron. Right. You could look him up on YouTube. Everything else, and tell him about your little book there too.
My little book. I actually was just on a different YouTube channel talking about this last night for 3 hours and 50 minutes. But this is the death of
on the
Allah.
on the other YouTube channel. Did they introduce you as David Suarez?
Oh no, they just call me David S on there.
Oh man, what are you, an alcoholic or something?
I got to keep it anonymous. No, they just got used to it, or they'll call me Be the Iron or something. But they know me because of my books, and this one was just the death of Allah, and that is an intentional title. That is actually not hyperbolic. I literally mean it. This is a dead God. Yeah. This is a God. You could perhaps say he was never living, so maybe he's not dead but non-existent. In either case, it's the death of Allah, 10 dilemmas that make Allah impossible.
He's probably in hell with the demon that
of course.
He was first talking to him.
Yeah.
Hey, man, thanks so much for coming. I hope that this cleared up the idea of taqiyya for you. That's this doctrine of actual Islamic doctrine from the Quran. You heard it from the pages of the Quran.
That's right.
That's the most credible Islamic source you can possibly find. We are praying for you, friends, that you can kind of manage this as a Christian, but also if you are a Muslim, we want you to really come to know the Jesus that we know and that we truly love, the one who died for us, the one who loved you so much that he gave his life as a sacrifice to bring you near to God. It's just such a greater level of assurance. It's such a greater religion. It's a deeper understanding, a grossly superior set of scriptures.
Yeah, that's right.
That goes back thousands of years. It wasn't made up on the fly or anything like that. Literally pieced together over 1,500 years by some 66 different authors. That's really an incredible story in and of itself. But the way it all speaks one unified message that we like to call the gospel. It's an awesome thing.
Amen.
Friends, we want to encourage you to come to know Jesus. So please do that. Please reach out in a message with a comment. If you don't know how to do that, we would love to point you in the right direction. I, as a pastor, always want to encourage you to go to church this Sunday. If you haven't been to church in a while, make sure you make this your day. Go to church this week. Make sure you connect yourself with a pastor to tell them that you're coming back. And friends, you are in our prayers as always. God bless you. Until next time, it was great to gospel with you.
Amen.